All right, let's dive deep into UK compliance today.
Sounds good.
We're going to be tackling suspicious activity reports.
SARs.
Yes, SARs. And looking at how they're used to fight financial crime.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you've got some interesting sources for us today,
I do.
including some a detailed guide from compliance consultant
Yeah.
who are apparently celebrating a big anniversary this year.
Yes, it's their 25th anniversary.
Wow, 25 years.
Big one.
And they're offering some special deals to mark the occasion.
They are. We'll tell you about those a bit later.
Okay, we'll make sure to do that.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's unpack this stack of info you've sent.
Okay.
We're going to cover what makes a quality SAR,
Right.
dive into those tricky DAML requests,
Okay.
and even figure out why there are so many SARs being filed in the UK.
Well, that's a great place to start, actually.
Is it?
The sheer volume of reports is a good indicator of what's going on in the UK financial crime landscape.
Yeah, you're right. That number was pretty eye-catching. Over 900,000 SARs filed in 2021-22 alone. It makes you realize how much potential financial crime is actually out there.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that?
Well, it's certainly a sign of how complex this area has become, you know? On the one hand, it shows the scale of the problem.
Yeah.
Criminals are getting more sophisticated all the time.
Right.
But it also shows that financial institutions are becoming more vigilant.
Okay.
They're using their knowledge to spot red flags
Right.
and report them, which is a positive step.
Yeah, it's like a constant game of cat and mouse,
Exactly.
with both sides trying to outsmart each other.
Yeah, and speaking of knowledge, compliance consultant emphasizes the importance of understanding the entire SAR process.
The whole thing.
Yeah, not just the basics.
Okay, good point. Our sources do walk us through the entire process.
They do.
Starting with registering for the NCA's SAR portal.
Right?
They make it sound pretty simple and secure.
It is, yeah. You just need a unique email address, a secure password, and some basic information to verify your identity. The two-factor authentication provides an extra layer of security, which is essential when you're dealing with such sensitive information.
Okay, so let's say you're registered and you spot something suspicious.
Right.
What makes a SAR stand out to investigators?
Okay.
How do you make sure it gets taken seriously?
Compliance consultants have identified 3 key elements: clarity, comprehensive information, and accurate data entry.
Okay.
Imagine you're an investigator with a mountain of reports to go through.
Oh, yeah.
You need a clear, concise story that lays out the suspicious activity without any jargon or unnecessary complexity.
So cut to the chase and make it easy to read.
Exactly.
Got it.
And don't skimp on the details.
Okay.
Include everything you know, who's involved, what happened, when, where, and why it raised red flags for you.
Okay.
The more information investigators have, the better equipped they are to follow the trail.
It's like painting a picture,
Yeah?
but with facts and evidence instead of brushstrokes.
Yes.
And speaking of facts, you mentioned accurate data entry.
Yes, that's crucial.
How?
The SAR form has specific fields that need to be filled out correctly.
Right.
Using unknown only when the information genuinely isn't available.
Okay.
Every piece of data helps build a complete picture for the investigators.
Right. I'm guessing there are common mistakes people make when filling out these reports.
Absolutely. One of the biggest is using jargon or overly complex language,
Right.
which can make it difficult for investigators to understand the report quickly.
Too much jargon.
Yeah. Another common mistake is leaving out crucial information, either about the individuals involved or the specific transactions that raised your suspicions.
Okay.
Yeah.
It sounds like attention to detail is key here.
Absolutely. Compliance consultant really stressed that even a seemingly insignificant detail could be the missing link that helps investigators connect the dots and crack a case.
Wow. Okay. So we've covered the basics of standard SARs, but our listener also sent in information about something called a DAML request.
Right.
Can you explain what that is?
A DAML, or Defense Against Money Laundering request, comes into play when you, the reporter, suspect that the property you're about to deal with could be linked to criminal activity.
Okay.
But you need to proceed with the transaction for legitimate reasons.
Oh, that sounds like a tricky situation to be in.
It can be.
So it's like asking the authorities for some kind of protection.
You could say that it's essentially a way to inform the NCA of your suspicions and ask for their guidance on how to proceed safely and legally.
Okay.
It doesn't mean you're automatically in the clear or that the funds are suddenly legitimate.
No, it's not a get-out-of-jail-free card.
Not at all.
So what are some situations where someone might need to file a DAML request?
Oh, okay.
Could you give us some real-world examples?
Absolutely. Let's say you're a solicitor handling a property sale.
Right.
and discover some red flags about the buyer's source of funds during your due diligence.
Okay.
You're concerned about money laundering,
Uh-huh.
but you also have an obligation to your client.
Right.
That's where a DAML request could come in handy.
Interesting. So it's about protecting yourself from potential legal repercussions while still fulfilling your professional duties.
Exactly. Another scenario could be a bank processing a large transaction from a high-risk jurisdiction.
Okay.
They have to comply with anti-money laundering regulations,
Yeah.
but they also don't want to unnecessarily delay or block a legitimate transaction.
Right.
A DAML request helps them navigate that difficult balance.
So it's all about managing risk and finding that sweet spot between compliance and practicality.
Exactly.
But how does filing a DAML request actually work? Is it similar to submitting a standard SAR?
It's similar, but with some key differences.
Okay.
Essentially, you're adding another layer of information to your standard SAR.
Okay.
You need to clearly outline your suspicions, describe the property involved,
Right.
and explain the specific criminal activity you're seeking a defense for.
Okay, so more detail is needed, but why go through the hassle of a DAML request when you could just avoid dealing with suspicious funds altogether?
That's a great question. It is, and in an ideal world, we would all avoid anything remotely suspicious.
Right, yeah.
But sometimes you might have contractual obligations, or there might be legitimate reasons to proceed with a transaction despite the risks.
Okay.
Yeah,
It sounds like it's all about carefully weighing those risks and responsibilities.
exactly. And remember, a DAM request is not a guarantee of protection.
Right.
It simply allows you to raise your concerns with the authorities and seek their guidance.
Okay, so you're essentially saying, hey, NCA, I'm seeing some red flags here,
Yeah,
and I need your help navigating this situation.
precisely. And that's a crucial part of what compliance consultants emphasize: proactive communication and collaboration with the authorities.
Okay, so we've got SARs and we've got DAML requests.
Yeah.
How can we tell them apart? What are the key differences our listeners should keep in mind?
Think of it this way. A standard SAR is like sending up a flare.
Okay.
You're signaling to law enforcement that something suspicious is happening.
Gotcha.
A DAML request is more like asking for a roadmap. You're saying, I need to navigate this potentially dangerous territory.
Right.
Can you give me some direction so I don't get lost?
I like that analogy.
Yeah.
A SAR is about raising awareness,
Yes.
while a DAML request is about seeking specific guidance.
Exactly. There are some practical differences, too.
Okay, such as...
For example, when you submit a DAM request, you have to tick a specific consent box
Okay.
on the SAR online system to signal that you're looking for a legal defense, not just reporting suspicious activity.
So there are subtle cues built into the system
Yeah.
to differentiate between these two types of reports.
Precisely. And the content requirements differ as well.
Okay.
A DAML request requires more specific and detailed information, including a clear description of the suspected criminal property and the exact prohibited act you're seeking protection for.
Makes sense. It's like building a case for why you need that legal shield.
Exactly.
What about the turnaround time? Is it the same for both types of reports?
Actually, it's not. For standard SARs, there's no set time frame for a response from the NCA.
Okay.
But for DAML requests, they have 7 working days to consider your requests.
Oh, wow. So there's a bit more urgency involved with DAML requests?
There is, yeah.
What happens after those 7 working days?
If you haven't heard back from the NCA,
Uh-huh.
you can assume they've given you deemed consent to proceed with the transaction.
Okay.
However, they might also respond and ask for additional information or give you a clear yes or no on granting a defense.
So it's not a guarantee, but it's a way to get the NCA's input on a tricky situation.
Yeah, exactly.
But what about the actual submission process?
Okay.
Does it differ between standard SARs and DAML requests?
It does. There's that consent box we talked about.
Right.
And as I mentioned, the information required for a DAML request is much more detailed and specific.
Okay.
You really need to paint a clear picture for the NCA so they can properly assess the situation.
So it sounds like the difference between sending a quick text
Yeah,
and writing a formal letter.
that's a great way to put it.
Is it?
It is. And because DAML requests have legal implications, getting the wording right is crucial.
Right.
You need to be clear, concise, and avoid any ambiguity.
You're laying the groundwork for your legal defense, so precision is key.
Exactly. And there's typically more interaction with the NCA with DAML requests.
Okay.
They might ask for clarifications, additional documents, or even meet with you to discuss the case in more detail.
So it's a more collaborative process compared to standard SARs.
Exactly. And whilst standard SARs are primarily for informational purposes,
Okay.
DAML submissions can result in tangible legal protections if approved or if you receive deemed consent.
Okay, that's a really important distinction.
It is.
So it's not just about reporting suspicious activity.
No.
It's about seeking legal protection when facing a complex situation.
Exactly.
What happens if the situation changes after submitting a DAML request? Can you update it in any way?
Yes, you absolutely can. The NCA recognizes that situations can evolve. And they allow updates during the notice period, that 7-working-day window we talked about.
That's good to know. So
Yeah.
you're not locked into your initial submission.
Not at all. But how you update your request depends on the changes.
Okay.
If it's a minor tweak, like adding missing information, a simple email to the NCA usually suffices.
Okay, so for small adjustments, just email them the updated details.
Yeah.
Easy enough.
Easy peasy.
But what if the changes are more significant?
Okay.
Like something that fundamentally alters the transaction or the level of risk?
Then things get a bit more complicated.
How so?
If the changes are substantial enough to potentially impact the NCA's decision on your DAML request, you might need to submit a brand new SAR.
Wow, so it's almost like starting from scratch.
In a way, yes.
Wow, okay.
But remember, though, the NCA's primary goal is to combat financial crime.
Right.
So even if the changes might not directly impact your DAML request,
Yeah.
if they're relevant to the overall suspicion of money laundering, you have a duty to report them.
You're essentially keeping the authorities in the loop as the situation evolves.
Precisely. The NCA emphasized clear and timely communication. Don't wait until the last minute to inform them of significant changes.
Okay, we've covered updating DAML requests.
Yep.
But are there things people should avoid doing during this process? Any potential pitfalls to watch out for?
Yes, definitely. One of the biggest is bombarding the NCA with unnecessary progress checks or requests for updates.
Okay.
I have limited time to review requests.
Right.
And constant pestering can slow things down for everyone.
So trust the process and only reach out if absolutely necessary.
Exactly. The NCA is committed to making decisions within that 7-working-day period.
Right.
If they need more information from you, they'll reach out. Otherwise, trust that they're working diligently behind the scenes.
Patience is key.
Yeah,
Let the experts do their job and avoid creating unnecessary noise.
precisely. And remember, the NCA's guidance and expertise are invaluable in this complex world of compliance. Don't hesitate to reach out to them if you have questions or need clarification.
Great advice. So we've covered a lot of ground, from the basics of SARs to the intricacies of DAML requests.
We have.
It's been quite a journey into the world of UK compliance.
It certainly has, and it highlights the dedication and expertise of organizations like Compliance Consultant,
Yeah.
who are working tirelessly to help businesses navigate these complex waters.
Couldn't agree more. They've been at the forefront of compliance for 25 years.
They have.
And their compliance doctor approach,
Right.
providing personalized compliance solutions tailored to each business, is truly unique.
It is.
And speaking of unique, let's not forget about that amazing 25th anniversary offer they're running.
We won't.
A 25% discount on all their services for the entire year.
Plus some incredible bonuses for projects over a certain value.
Wow, that is incredible.
It
It's
is.
an incredible opportunity for any business looking to enhance their compliance strategy.
Yeah, absolutely.
We'll share all the details at the end of the show, so stay tuned.
Okay, so back to our deep dive.
Yeah.
We've explored crafting a quality SAR, when and why you might need a DAML request, and the key differences between the two.
Right.
Now let's unpack what happens when you need to update a DAML request during that crucial notice period.
Ah, yes. The ever-changing landscape of compliance.
Yeah.
Because, let's face it, things rarely stay static in the real world.
That's right. So you've submitted your DAML request and you're patiently waiting for the NCA's response. But suddenly, new information emerges,
Right.
or the circumstances surrounding the transaction change.
Okay.
What do you do?
Well, based on what we've learned so far, it seems like communication is key.
Yeah.
You need to keep the NCA informed of any developments that might affect their assessment.
Uh-huh.
But how do you determine the best course of action? Is a simple email enough, or do you need to submit a whole new SAR?
That's a great question, and the answer, as with most things in compliance, is it depends.
Well, of course.
The NCA has clear guidelines on how to handle updates to DAML requests, and the approach you take depends on the significance of the changes.
Okay, so let's break that down for our listener.
Okay.
What constitutes a minor change versus a substantial one?
Well, imagine you've submitted your DAML request
Right.
and realize you forgot to include a document that supports your suspicions.
Okay.
Or maybe you receive new information that strengthens your case,
Right.
but doesn't fundamentally alter the nature of the transaction.
So it's like adding a footnote or an extra piece of evidence to your existing argument.
Exactly. In these cases, the NCA recommend simply sending an email
Okay.
to their dedicated DAML address, clearly stating the SAR unique reference number and outlining the additional information you're providing.
Okay, so keep it simple.
Yeah,
Be clear and reference the original SAR.
right.
Got it.
Got it.
But what if the changes are more substantial? What kind of scenarios would warrant a brand new SAR?
Let's say you're a bank that submitted a DAML request for a large transfer of funds. But then you receive information that the intended recipient of those funds is now subject to international sanctions.
Wow, yeah.
That's a game changer.
Yeah, that definitely throws a wrench in the works.
Absolutely. Or imagine you're a solicitor working on a property purchase and you discover that the buyer has used a false identity.
Right.
That's not just a minor detail. It completely changes the nature of the transaction and the associated risks.
Okay, so we're talking about red flags that go beyond the initial scope of the DAML request.
Yeah.
They raise entirely new concerns about the legitimacy of the transaction.
Exactly. And in these situations, the NCA is very clear.
Yeah.
You need to submit a brand new SAR outlining these new developments and explaining how they impact your original request.
So it's like hitting the reset button and
Yeah.
approaching the situation with fresh eyes.
Precisely. You're essentially saying, okay, the game has changed.
Right.
Here's the updated playing field.
Right.
And here's how it affects my previous request for guidance.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
But it sounds like there's a lot of nuance involved in determining whether a simple email update is enough or whether a whole new SAR is required.
You're right.
How do you figure it out?
And that's why it's so crucial to have a solid understanding of the NCA's guidelines
Yeah.
and to seek expert advice if you're unsure about the best course of action.
Excellent point. Don't be afraid to ask for help.
Right.
There are professionals out there, like those at Compliance Consultant,
Yes.
who can guide you through these complex processes.
They can.
But we'll talk more about them later.
Right. For now, let's focus on helping our listener understand how to effectively update their DAML requests.
Yeah, great idea.
What are some key tips for ensuring a smooth and effective process?
Bring on those actionable insights.
All right. When it comes to updating those DAML requests, clarity and conciseness are crucial.
Okay.
Whether you're writing an email or filling out a new SAR form, you want to get straight to the point.
Right?
Remember, you're communicating with law enforcement professionals who need to quickly grasp the situation.
So keep it simple and avoid any technical jargon.
Exactly. And always back up your statements with specific details and supporting evidence.
Right.
Don't just say something feels off.
Yeah.
Explain what you've discovered, why it's concerning, and include any relevant documentation or evidence.
So it's like presenting a case.
Yeah.
You need the facts to support your claim.
Precisely. And always remember to include the unique reference number from your original SAR when communicating with the NCA.
Right.
This helps them locate your file and understand the context of your update.
It's like giving them a direct link to the relevant information.
Exactly. Now, another important thing to remember is that the NCA is handling a huge volume of requests.
Oh, I bet.
It might take some time for them to respond to your update, so be patient,
Okay.
but don't be afraid to follow up and make sure your concerns have been addressed.
Okay, so it's about finding that balance between patience and persistence.
Precisely. The NCA is your partner in combating financial crime.
Right.
They're there to help you navigate these complex situations.
Yeah.
And ensure you're taking the appropriate steps to protect yourself and your organization.
Okay, so we've talked about the general principles of updating a DAML request.
Yeah.
But can we walk through some specific scenarios where someone might need to do this?
Absolutely. Let's start with a simple one.
Okay.
Imagine you're a solicitor working on a property sale.
Right.
And you filed a DAML request because you have concerns about the buyer's source of funds.
Okay.
Then, during the notice period, the buyer provides you with additional documentation that clears up those concerns.
So the initial suspicion is resolved through additional information.
Yeah.
What would you do in that case?
You'd send a concise email to the NCA,
Okay.
referencing the SAR unique reference number, and explaining that the new information has addressed your initial concerns.
Straightforward enough.
Yeah.
But let's look at a scenario where the situation takes a turn for the worse.
Okay.
What if new information emerges that deepens the initial suspicions?
Let's say you're a bank that submitted a DAML request for a large wire transfer. Then, during the notice period, your internal fraud detection system flags the recipient's account for suspicious activity.
That definitely sounds like a cause for concern.
It does.
How would you approach that situation?
You'd need to assess how serious this new information is and decide whether it warrants a brand new SAR.
Okay.
If it simply adds to your existing concerns, a detailed email update might be enough.
Okay.
But if it fundamentally changes the nature of the transaction or introduces entirely new risks, you'll likely need to file a fresh SAR.
Okay, so it's back to that crucial distinction between minor updates and substantial changes.
It is.
What are some factors people should consider when making that decision?
The nature of the new information is key.
Right.
Is it clarifying existing details or raising completely new concerns?
Okay.
Then think about the potential consequences of proceeding with the transaction. Does the new information raise serious concerns about money laundering?
Right.
If so, a fresh SAR is crucial to protect yourself and your organization. And finally, consider the time sensitivity of the situation.
Yeah.
If the transaction is imminent and the new information is urgent, a fresh SAR might be the fastest way to get the NCA's attention.
Right, so it's about weighing the severity of the information.
Yes.
The potential consequences and the urgency of the situation.
Yeah.
Sounds like a complex decision-making process.
It can be, and that's why it's so important to have a solid understanding of the NCA's guidelines.
Yeah.
If you're ever unsure, seeking expert advice is always a good idea.
Right.
Organizations like compliance consultants have extensive experience in these matters.
They do.
And can guide you through the process.
That's good advice.
Yeah.
It's always better to err on the side of caution and get expert input when dealing with something as complex as a DAML request.
It is.
Absolutely. And remember, clear communication is key throughout the process.
Yes.
Use straightforward language, provide specific details and supporting evidence, and always reference your original SAR with the unique reference number.
Right.
So it's all about being organized, providing clear information, and being patient with the process.
Exactly.
The NCA relies on your vigilance and your accurate reporting to effectively combat financial crime.
They do.
By working together, we can ensure the integrity of the financial system.
Okay, that's really helpful advice.
It is.
So we've covered the importance of staying informed about DAML requests.
Yeah.
But what about staying on top of all the other aspects of UK compliance?
Right. Like, how do you even keep up with all of that?
I imagine it can be quite a challenge, especially for businesses with limited resources.
Definitely.
You're right. Staying compliant can be a significant undertaking.
Yeah.
That's why organizations like Compliance Consultant are so valuable.
Yeah.
They provide a comprehensive suite of services to help businesses of all sizes navigate the complexities of UK compliance.
And they're celebrating a pretty big milestone this year, right?
Yes, it's their 25th anniversary.
25 years.
To celebrate, they're offering a fantastic 25% discount on all their services for the entire year.
Okay.
They also have some great bonus offers for larger projects.
Wow. That's an incredible opportunity for businesses to enhance their compliance strategies and get expert support.
It is.
We'll definitely share all the details on how our listener can connect with Compliance Consultant at the end of our deep dive.
Definitely. Okay. Now, let's shift our focus back to the nuances of DAML requests.
Okay.
You mentioned that sometimes you might need to file a brand new SAR when significant changes occur during the notice period. Can you give us some more examples of when that might be necessary?
Absolutely. Let's say you're a solicitor working on a property purchase.
Right.
And you've already submitted a DAML request based on some initial concerns about the buyer's financial background.
Okay.
Then you discover that the buyer has provided you with a false identity.
Whoa, that's a huge red flag.
Yeah, it completely changes the nature of the transaction.
Yeah.
And raises serious concerns about potential criminal activity.
It does.
Exactly.
Yeah.
In this case, simply sending an email update wouldn't be enough.
Right.
You'd need to file a brand new SAR.
Yes.
To alert the NCA to this critical new information. It's essentially like starting a new investigation.
Precisely.
Another example could be a bank that has submitted a DAML request for a transaction involving a large sum of money.
Okay.
During the notice period, they receive information that the intended recipient of the funds is now on a sanctions list.
Right. Again, that's a game changer.
Yeah, it completely invalidates the original DAML request and requires immediate action.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
In these situations, it's essential to act quickly and decisively.
It is.
Filing a new SAR ensures that the NCA has the most up-to-date information and can take appropriate steps to prevent potential financial crime.
Right.
So it's all about recognizing when the situation has escalated beyond the scope of the original DAML request
Yeah.
and taking the necessary steps to inform the NCA.
Exactly, and it's important to remember that even if you do need to file a new SAR, the original DAML request remains valid for the specific activity it covered.
Okay.
It's simply a matter of layering on new information as the situation evolves.
It's like building a more comprehensive and accurate picture
Yes.
for the NCA to work with.
Precisely.
And it all comes back to that key principle of transparency and collaboration that compliance consultant emphasizes.
Right.
By keeping the lines of communication open with the NCA, we can work together to create a more robust and effective system for combating financial crime.
That's a great point.
It is. Now, I know we've talked about the importance of not overwhelming the NCA with unnecessary updates.
Yeah?
But what about those situations where you're genuinely unsure whether to send an email update or file a whole new SAR?
That's a common dilemma, and it highlights the need for clear guidance and expert advice.
Right.
The NCA does provide detailed guidelines on their website, but sometimes it's helpful to have a second opinion.
Especially when you're dealing with complex situations that involve a lot of nuances.
Exactly, and that's where compliance consultants' compliance doctor approach really shines.
Yeah.
They offer a personalized service that's tailored to each business's specific needs and challenges.
It's like having a dedicated compliance expert on call to help you navigate these tricky situations.
You could say that. They're like a trusted advisor
Yeah.
who can help you assess the risks, understand the regulation, and make informed decisions that protect your business.
And their 25th anniversary offer makes it even more appealing to engage their services.
Absolutely. It's a great opportunity for businesses to benefit from their extensive experience and expertise at a discounted rate.
Okay, let's shift gears for a moment and talk about some of the practical aspects of updating a DAML request.
Okay.
What are some common mistakes people make during this process?
Right.
And how can they be avoided?
One of the biggest mistakes is underestimating the significance of new information. Sometimes people might dismiss something as unimportant or assume a minor detail won't affect the NCA's decision.
Right.
But it's crucial to err on the side of caution and report anything that could be relevant.
So it's better to over-communicate than to risk withholding information that could be crucial to the investigation.
Exactly. Remember, the NCA relies on your vigilance and diligence to build a complete picture of the situation.
Right. You're essentially their eyes and ears on the ground.
Precisely. Another common mistake is delaying communication.
Okay.
Sometimes people might sit on new information, hoping that the situation will resolve itself,
Right.
or that the changes won't be as significant as they initially appear.
That's like hoping the problem will magically disappear on its own.
Yeah.
But in the world of compliance, ignoring a problem rarely makes it go away.
You're absolutely right. When it comes to DAML requests, time is of the essence.
Right.
The NCA needs to be aware of any developments as they happen, so they can adjust their assessment accordingly. So be proactive. And don't hesitate to inform the NCA as soon as you have new information that could be relevant to your DAML requests.
Exactly.
Got it.
And when you do communicate with the NCA, make sure you're being consistent in your reporting.
Okay.
Any inconsistencies or contradictions between your initial SAR and subsequent updates can raise red flags and undermine the credibility of your request.
Okay, so it's like telling a story. All the chapters need to flow together logically and make sense.
That's a great analogy.
Is it?
Every piece of information you provide needs to fit into the bigger narrative.
Yeah.
If there are discrepancies, it can create confusion and doubt.
So consistency and clarity are key.
Absolutely. And finally, always remember to maintain a professional tone in your communication with the NCA.
Okay.
Avoid using jargon, slang, or overly informal language.
Right. Keep it clear, concise, and professional.
Precisely. By following these simple tips, you can ensure a smooth and effective communication process with the NCA.
Yeah.
And contribute to a more robust system for preventing financial crime. Excellent advice. Now, I know we focused a lot on DAML requests today.
We have.
But what about businesses that are just starting their compliance journey? What advice would you give them?
I'd say the most important thing is to start with a solid foundation.
Okay.
That means understanding the relevant regulations,
Huh?
identifying your business's specific risks,
Right.
and developing policies and procedures to mitigate those risks.
And that's where an organization like Compliance Consultant can be invaluable, right?
Absolutely. They can help you build that solid foundation,
Ah,
provide ongoing guidance and support,
right.
and ensure you stay ahead of the curve when it comes to UK compliance.
And with their 25th anniversary offer,
Yeah.
there's never been a better time to engage their services.
It's a fantastic opportunity to gain peace of mind knowing that your business is in safe and compliant hands.
So for our listener who's been diving deep into the world of DAML requests with us today,
Yeah.
what's the key takeaway they should walk away with?
I'd say the most important thing is to remember that the DAML request process is dynamic.
Okay.
Situations can change, new information can emerge, and it's crucial to be adaptable and proactive in your communication with the NCA.
Okay, so stay informed, stay vigilant, and don't hesitate to reach out for expert guidance when you need it.
Exactly. By working together and staying ahead of the curve,
Mhm.
we can create a safer and more secure financial system for everyone.
Okay, folks, we've covered a lot of ground today, from the basics of DAML requests to the complexities of updating them in response to changing circumstances.
They have.
Now it's time to wrap things up and give you all the details on how to connect with Compliance Consultant and take advantage of their amazing anniversary offer.
We'll be right back after a quick break.
Stay tuned.
Welcome back. We've been exploring the world of suspicious activity reports,
SARs.
or SARs as they're often called,
Yeah,
and those more specialized DAML requests.
like
It's been a fascinating look into how the UK combats financial crime.
it has.
And speaking of change, I'm curious about something. Okay.
We've talked about the sheer volume of SARs filed each year, over 900,000 in 2021-22.
Yeah, a lot.
It makes me wonder how technology could be used to make the whole process more efficient.
Right.
What are your thoughts on that?
Well, that's a great question. Imagine the possibilities.
Yeah.
Artificial intelligence could be used to analyze data and identify suspicious patterns in real time.
Okay.
Blockchain technology could help create secure and transparent audit trails, making it easier to track the flow of funds and identify illicit activities.
So essentially giving investigators powerful tools to help them sift through the massive amount of data and focus on the most suspicious cases.
Exactly. And for businesses, automated systems could streamline the SAR filing process,
Okay.
reducing the administrative burden and freeing up valuable time and resources.
It sounds like a win-win situation.
It does.
More efficiency for investigators, less burden for businesses,
Yeah,
and ultimately a stronger system for combating financial crime.
absolutely. It's exciting to think about the potential impact of technology in this field.
Speaking of expertise, we can't wrap up this deep dive without mentioning Compliance Consultant.
No, we can't.
They've been a fantastic resource for us, providing valuable insights into the complexities of SARs and DAML requests.
They have.
They've been at the forefront of UK compliance for 25 years now, and their compliance doctor approach is truly unique.
It is.
They offer personalized solutions that address each business's unique needs and challenges.
They do.
And they're celebrating that 25-year milestone with a special offer for our listeners, right?
Yes, they are. They are offering a 25% discount on all their services for the entire year. Plus, they have some great bonus offers for larger projects.
It's a fantastic opportunity for businesses to enhance their compliance strategies with the help of experienced professionals.
It is, absolutely.
So for our listener who wants to take advantage of this offer and connect with Compliance Consultant, how can they reach out?
They can visit the Compliance Consultant website at complianceconsultant.org or give them a call at 0800-689-0190. You can also schedule a no-obligation discovery call directly through their website using this link, bit.ly/discover.
And be sure to mention the deep dive when you reach out.
Yeah, they'll be happy to hear you're one of our dedicated deep divers.
Well, it's time for us to surface from this deep dive into UK compliance.
And
We've covered a lot of ground today.
A lot.
But the key takeaway is this. Staying informed is the best way to protect yourself, your business, and the integrity of the financial system.
Right.
Keep asking questions,
Yeah.
keep learning, and keep striving to create a safer and more compliant world.
Until next time.
Happy diving.